talk about, and this is for everyone, to talk about how to now go ahead from writing our tracks, recording our tracks, getting it out in the world, and then starting to create revenue, starting to create income to come in so that we can sustain ourselves as musicians. Because it's great to be a musician and an artist, but if we can't sustain that, we're not going to be able to last, you know? That's just not going to happen. So I think maybe we can let's discuss about that process because everybody here has already shown they have the capability of producing music. Claire, do you want to maybe give us some insights into that? Now that we're at this stage, how do we get to the next?
Yeah. I think there are many different ways and pools of making money from music. But I think now more than ever, it is about like thinking outside of the box. Like long gone are the days when it's like, cool, being a successful musician means like signing to a major record label and then like done. Like it is achieved. I will be rich. Um, because now even like signing to a label doesn't mean you have any money. You just owe a lot of money and you will possibly never make that money back. But the good news is that there are so many different ways of like monetizing your fan base. So, firstly, thinking about the kind of artist route and how you can use like all these things you've got at your fingertips to fund like more music making and living and stuff. So, things like having a Patreon. Do any of you have Patreons for your artistry? So do people know what Patreon is? Yeah?
No.
Okay, cool. So Patreon is where you create basically like a membership for your fans. So you create a space where you say like, cool, some people will like listen to my music or like follow me on Instagram, like, and that's nice. But I know I have a pocket of fans who want to like really feel like they support me. So for them, you can charge like a monthly subscription and it can be like like I think the minimum on Patreon you can charge is like $3 a month or like $5 and it can go up and up and up and up and up. And for that you could say, hey, if you're like one of my patrons, so it's basically like you're one of my members, for just this community, for you supporting me, I'm going to drop like an exclusive private track with a private SoundCloud link here once a month to say thank you for your support. And they feel like, oh, I'm really like connected to this artist and I'm like really in with them from the ground up and like part of this community and I get these extra songs. And for you, you're like, cool, I have like a level of income that starts to come from that. So that's just like one model. There's other sites that do similar things where you're essentially creating like a little club for yourselves and for people that want to support you. And if you're someone that does have like an online following, I'm sure you'll all know that like even if you've got like big numbers on your actual like Instagram followings, then it's only a very small proportion that are going to trickle through to like come and support you. But those people will really want to like ride for you and do stuff. Other stuff thinking outside the box is like merch. Do you have other like creative skills at your fingertips that people might want to support? Like that is how we make money as musicians, pure like in your artistry. Um, if like if being like a creator on TikTok, if that speaks to you as an artist, if you're like, I love like connecting with my fans, like in that way, then like there is money to be made. There's like creator funds and stuff. I do think though that that is a very specific type of like artist, and you're essentially saying like I I am gonna wear two hats, like musician and influencer. Like and they're like one is kind of helping to get to the other, and that's quite a difficult. It's not for me, and it's not for a lot of people, but I do know musicians who have made a lot of money through like solely honing in on like TikTok. So as an artist, yeah, there's all these like all these other ways, but like direct like financial support through like subscriptions where people are getting stuff back, and merch and stuff. Those are some of the best ways that you're actually going to see like money from your fans at the beginning, because you are not going to see it from Spotify. Like it's like you obviously, that is how we like share music in the world, by putting it onto streaming platforms, but when like you're not going to actually see money from there. Also doing as well as merch, I didn't really talk about actually like creating like physical records and stuff. Like people want to support that. People want to have something, and there you actually can make some money. So yeah, these are all like ways in your development in like artistry that you can start to make money. But where you're really going to actually start to see like proper money is if you can get your song placed in like an advert, a TV show. Like that's where you actually see amounts of money that you're like, oh, that's like I got paid for doing a job. So those are like the real things. Um, it's it's very, very hard to like cut through to that world. For lots of people, it's kind of it's like a little bit of luck, because sometimes places will be sort of like scouring like playlists of like new and up and coming artists. A little of something I've seen as quite like a successful route in that won't connect with everyone here is doing a very individual version of a cover song that is very contrasting to the one that exists in the world already. Um, it's what I would call like the Love Island formula. If anyone here has ever watched Love Island, but I have many, many artist friends who started getting their own songs placed on that show, which is like a great stepping stone and great money. And it's because they were like, I really want to get placed on here. Let me put out a cover of like a big rock song, but it will just be guitar and vocals. So like these are some of the kind of the like ways we can try and like put ourselves forward in the best way. Equally, like, you know, like doing like a trap version of a country song, like could be cool, and like an ad campaign company that could be exactly what they're looking for, and you just happen to have it. And then I think the other thing is sometimes, or in fact, for me, I found mostly this side of working as a musician kind of exists alongside making your music as an artist, and you just wear a different hat and you say like, cool, I'm creating music like for a living, and therefore I might make a song that isn't like my favorite genre, like, but I still love making music, and I'm not making it under my artist name. I'm making it because someone said like, hey, you do this job and you do it well, and I would like to pay you to do it. And you say,
As if like you adapt to another genre.
yeah, totally. Like I work in genres all the time that I would not say are the genres that I would release music in. They're not they're not my artist vision, but like I I have been paid to write and sing, and that is like such a joy, and like a incredible blessing in itself to like make my living making music. And doing that stuff enables me then to do the creative stuff that I love, that might not make any money this year or next year or ever or in 10 years time. Like it allows me the freedom to make the music that I love.
Totally agree. A great example would be like Post Malone, like from transferring from country to hip hop to pop. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
where
And
the
like,
money's at.
yeah,
Yeah.
like living in different worlds. And like, you know, there's been times where the thing that's like paid my rent that month is like singing like a children's album where I'm doing like all different like crazy voices and animal sounds. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm not, my name's not going on it. I'm not saying like, hey everyone, like just dropped from Claire Dove, like Farmyard Animals Volume 3. But I do not take for granted those steps at certain points in my career and how much of a rarity it is for someone to say like, yeah, you're like, I want to pay you to sing. Like, and you're like, oh, cool. I love singing. I love to do that. So yeah, having like being able to have a little bit of separation and sometimes doing work that is like more, yeah, less to do with your artistry and more to do with the fact that you get to make money from making art, and then that feeds back into getting to do your other stuff. So yeah, it's like wearing a lot of hats and juggling a lot of stuff.
Can I jump in on
Please
what you
do.
just said, Claire? There's a great video. I don't know if any of you know, there's a composer called Christian Henson, who started the company Spitfire Audio, which does virtual libraries. And just on what Claire said, Andre, he's got a great video where he talks about the who you define who you are. So he defines two types of people. You've got an artist who creates music that they love, that is representative of them, and then the composer or the person that writes music for film, TV, that sort of thing. That's what I do. And therefore I'm always writing for other people, not for me. I don't write music that is artistically me. It's somebody else's vision. And I think that's what Claire's saying is like you can exist as you as the artist, but to increase your revenue as a musician, you can then do other things where you diversify.
Yeah,
But it
totally.
reminded me of that
Adapt.
Christian Henson video where he talked about the two types. Artists are completely different to a composer.
Yeah, thanks for all that input. And I think that should help anybody here, any musician, to gain that next step. That was a great question, Ian.
If you have a lot of tracks, you're building up your catalog, right? So every time you record something, that's your catalog, and you start publishing them, put them into production companies, libraries. You never know what's going to drop. One day you might get like, oh, maybe this is a $200 thing, or it doesn't matter. That's $200 of something.
Yeah.
And additionally, I'm not sure though if anybody here are performing artists. Hands up, who's a performing artist? Like, do you play gigs, Andre?
Some
Yeah.
gigs, yeah.
Okay, great. I mean, I started playing again in a band after not playing in a band for 5 years. One of our gigs, we sold nearly $1,000. Half of that was through merch. And that's t-shirts and that's CDs. And we basically, cover the cost of our CDs and our merch in the one gig.
Yeah.
Just like that. And you loads of merch left for so many more gigs to do. So if you're a gigging musician or an artist, that's definitely something to think about in the beginning as well. Claire, did you used to do some performances before? Not so, I know you're not so much now, but did you do?
Yeah, a lot. But where you can make a lot of money is like doing cover stuff, or like if you can like DJ even like a little bit, if you can get those skills kind of up, you can use that as a way to sort of introduce more people to your music and your like art. And you might even be able to, like, if you are someone that DJs, you might be able to every now and then like slip in one of your tracks. Or it's just quite a good way of going out, making money doing music and growing your fan base. Because if people like what you're doing, even if you're not playing your own stuff, people will say to you like, oh, like I love your voice. I love the way you play guitar. I love the tracks that you played. Like, let me follow you. And then they have a new way of just like discovering your music. And you got to go out and earn like decent money by making music or playing music. And then you got some new fans, and then that in turn feeds this thing. And yeah.
One little tip I would give is, it's so true about the original music, and not being able to, finding venues for that. Rent the whole venue. For example, like you'll be surprised.
My heart.
We have, I mean, do you know that? I mean, I'm based in London. There's a really iconic little club called the Hope and Anchor in Islington. They charge only £100 on a Thursday night, and you get the whole venue. You get a bartender, you get the back line, which is all your instruments and everything, and you get an engineer. I mean, that's amazing. I think that's incredible value. And so basically what you can do is you can headline, and you invite two other bands to come along, or two other acts to come along. In terms of like thinking about revenue, instead of like going through the promoter scene where they want you to bring 30 people and they start paying you £1 after, that's the way we actually do it right now. And it's so much better.
Yeah, and that's so true about like don't just be like, well, I just want to do a show on my own, so I'm going to organize this thing. Like seek out other like your peers, other people that are in the same music scene as you, that you like the music that they make and you like what they do, and be like, hey, should we like put on a night and like I'll play some tracks and you perform, and then this person will perform, and then we all bring our fan bases, and then all those like, and everyone gets to like have all these new people introduced to their music. So